Well, hello everyone, this is CJ with Cycletron. This is my first vlog since moving to Minnesota. Like some of you know, but not all of you, that I had to come up here with my wife, and then we also moved our two teenage boys who still live at home up here, so my wife could get good medical treatment for breast cancer. So we've been up here since April. Tried to find a house to rent, but that didn't work out. So we ended up buying a house up here, which has been great. So one of the first things we did was, when we got the chances to move our motorcycles up here, at least most of them. Still got to get my high boots up here, but got the Katana up here first. My boys each have one of their bikes. But things have been going well. We were fortunate that we were in a position to come up here. We could have gotten great care in Kansas City, but what appealed to me about up here was the level of coordinated care, which I think she really needed. She's had a lot of complex health issues over the last several years, and then having cancer on top of that. So I was happy when they took her case and we came up here, and gosh, was it March? And started the process of figuring out what was going on. Now she's had chemo for the last month. She's got 3 months plus to go. So you can see off to the left one of the early Mayo related buildings, the Plumber building that was built in the 30s, or maybe 1928, Art Deco style. Pretty cool. But if you look off to the left, you see a bunch of medical buildings that are associated with Mayo. Those are the main buildings: the Mayo building, the Gonda building, and then there's bunches of others around there. We'll just drive through downtown. We stayed at this hotel, a tall building up there when we first got here, and there's quite a few motorcycle riders up here. They're either Harley riders or sport bike riders, it seems. And the sport bike riders would come out at night and have their exhaust rumble off the buildings downtown like a canyon, which I actually thought was pretty funny. It's just kind of pleasant. You know, there's certain noises at night that really don't bother me. Passing trains is one of them. I always found the sound of a train in the middle of the night somehow comforting. And you know, when I hear a sport bike exhaust blasted through a downtown area at night, it makes me think that would be something I'd probably do if I was a lot younger. I'm usually about ready for bed at 9 o'clock these days. I'll read for a while. I'm not about the nightlife anymore. But up here's the Mayo. They got all these skywalks connecting all the buildings. You can actually walk clear across downtown through the skywalks. One thing it took me a bit to get used to down here is pretty much everybody drives the speed limit. And the speed limit in downtown is like 25. Which is a little slow, but there's a lot of pedestrians down here. So what I appreciate about this area is that it's about 1/5 the population of where I was living in Kansas City area. So I actually appreciate the less traffic volume, and people pretty much drive the speed limit, which is a good thing. Although it does tend to bunch people up in traffic. I'm used to a little faster flow of traffic where I'm from, but slowing it down a bit is probably not a bad idea. Alright, I meant to turn left up here. Let's go check this out. We'll go down the main Mayo drag here. So on the left is the Gonda building, on the right is Methodist Hospital, and the main Mayo Hospital's about a half mile to the south here. So here's the main building complex. The other thing I noticed by moving up here is that people are quite friendly. And in fact, I got a lot going on all the time. I'm usually kind of in a hurry, or at least if I'm trying to get information from someone, I like to have them be concise. And apparently up here, getting to the point's considered to be somewhat rude. So I felt like maybe how a New Yorker might feel when they come to Kansas City. It's just like, come on, man, get to the point. Let's get on with it. But different pace up here. The summer weather's just been fantastic. It's typically been 5 to 10 degrees cooler on any given day in Kansas City. You can see over here, the bank, 82 degrees, which is lovely. It's about, I don't know, what time is it? About a little after 10 o'clock on 4th of July morning. So happy 4th of July to you all out there. But it's been rather stressful coming up here, especially when I didn't have my bike for a while to blow off steam. I actually was having night terrors, which I hadn't had since I was a kid. So just, I think, showing a high level of stress. That's gone away since I've had my bike up here. But also, I didn't have any cameras for doing vlogging. My box that had 2 GoPros and a Insta360 disappeared during the move. I think I somehow had it fall into a little space in the cab of the U-Haul truck that we rented, and getting in at late at night and then unloading and then taking the truck back the next day. It was a little bit later that I realized, hey man, where's my camera gear? So haven't replaced all of it yet, but I did get a new Insta and a new GoPro, which was not cheap. But like I said, I was very grateful that we could come up here. You know, probably half this town is geared around Mayo. I guess Mayo got started when this physician, who was educated by the British scientist John Dalton, moved to Minnesota in the 1860s and started a medical practice, and his sons joined it later on. And in the 1890s, they expanded to be a multidisciplinary practice. And that's what Mayo's really known for, aside from the high level of coordinated care. So you'll have a main doctor that acts as a clearinghouse to communicate with other doctors in the various specialties. And at these consults, I've noticed that they'll typically last an hour. So the patient load for the doctors up here is a lot less than what I'm used to. And if they need somebody to take notes, they bring in what they call is a scribe. So the doctor's actually listening to you and not having to take notes at the same time, which most of them have to do nowadays because of, what is it, Medicare and insurance regulations and things like that. So it's different up here in that regard, and I'd say people are very caring and, you know, genuinely committed to helping people, which is a change of pace for me in terms of, you know, I've always been kind of an independent person, try not to rely on people, just do my own thing, take care of business. And then you find yourself in a position where you're completely relying on strangers for something really important. In this case, I'm relying on strangers to save my wife's life. So it's humbling. And so I realized, you know, this notion of independence is good, but it's not really accurate. You have to rely on a lot of people in your daily life. You know, we saw that a little bit in the last few years, where I think people were grateful that people were just showing up to work at gas stations and all the other service jobs to serve food. I think people were grateful that, hey, it's like, hey man, I can't do my normal thing unless other people are doing their normal thing. So that's been different for me. And you know, when I first got up here in particular, I was trying to get information about, you know, how much snow do you get up here and what do you like about it up here, and people were quite friendly. You know, you could get a pretty good conversation going with the cashier at Walmart or what have you. So hopefully the microphone is working well for this camera. I think my initial camera angle was off when I was going downtown. It might have been pointed a little low. I'll get that dialed in again. It's always some growing pains getting dialed into new gear. Even though it's still a GoPro on my helmet mount, it's laid out differently than my other GoPro in terms of the microphone adapter location. So here's a question I have for you out there. It's obviously much cooler in Minnesota in the summer, but their winter is a real winter. And unlike in Kansas City, where I could pretty much ride at least once a week all through the winter, because I've got a heated jacket liner, and you know, especially short trips, even if it's 30 degrees and sunny, it's not bad at all. I mean, it's not like I'm driving or riding for 8 hours when it's in the 30s, but you know, for a short hop it's just fine. So would you rather live in an area that had more temperature extremes but a longer riding season, or a place that had pretty much perfect weather for most of the riding season, but the season would be a lot shorter? So I'd be curious what your take would be on that. You know, as I get older, I'm becoming increasingly intolerant to heat. I can pretty well dress by adding more and more layers if it's cold, but with high heat, there's just not a lot you can do, especially if you're wearing a lot of gear, which I always do. You know, my son moved to Tucson, and it's been really hot, although the humidity is only like 15%. In the Midwest, you know, the humidity can be quite high, so 100-degree day is like being in a sauna. Alright, so this is just a quick update video, everyone. Again, I hope you have a great 4th of July holiday. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments section, and please stay tuned for future videos. Thanks very much.